Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Carol. I'm here again with Gretta and the Realm of Beings. We thought Leigh would be joining us, but unfortunately she was unable to, but she, of course, is with us because we're all one. We're very happy to be here on Transformation Network every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time-ish, or 8 a.m. Pacific Time. Listeners, thank you for being part of this experience. These conversations will help you to look at your life and your creation of reality, to see what you're creating, how it shows up in your life, and how you can gain perspective on shifting and creation of reality as you want it to be. So welcome. If you're new to the podcast, every week Gretta shares with us a quote from the Realm of Beings, which we discuss, and then later on in the program, the realm themselves will weigh in. This week, our quote is, "Lovin' me all the way." That sounds like a song title. Unconditional love of self supports your creation of reality. So good morning, Gretta.
Morning, Carol.
Well, we definitely understand unconditional love of self. The realm tells us every single week how important that is. And of course, the more you love yourself unconditionally, the better your creation of reality will fit what you desire. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I'm so glad that we are coming to do this quote today on unconditional love, and that title of it is "Loving Me All the Way" for our podcast this morning. And I think it fits for all of us because I was looking at all kinds of challenging, videos that offer challenges, life challenges, and all kinds of things that people are believing in and so forth. And the one thing that they don't really talk about is unconditional love. We've talked about it on this podcast, Carol, since the beginning. We're in our third year now. But we've never really devoted an entire podcast to unconditional love. So I'm really excited about this morning. Mm-hmm.
Gretta, what would everybody says we have to love ourselves unconditionally. It sounds like it's so easy to do, but I think most of us have challenges because of the cultural framework we were raised in, where focusing on yourself is considered selfishness or egotistical. How can we dispel that falsehood to people so that they understand the difference between being selfish versus unconditional love of self?
I'd like to first start, in order to answer that question, Carol, I'd like to start with what is unconditional love and to compare it to the statements of "I love you." There's some cultures that don't even consider that derogatory to say "I love you," let alone "I love myself." So it's a more of "I like you" would be representative instead of "I love you." Okay. it depends on the cultural framework of the individual. Like a friend of mine he came from Taiwan, and he said it was very challenging for him in the beginning to get used to people hugging each other. He said, because in his culture, they don't do that. They don't say, I love you, you know. It's not about saying I love you, it's about showing the person that you love them, you know.
Well,
But
some of us, though, were brought up just here in America that our family.
I'm sorry, Carol, but we can't hear you. Your internet went out. Let's hope she's able to come back and then tell us what she was saying. But I want to go on with what is unconditional love. First of all, what I term it as, when you say I love you to somebody, I look at that as Valentine's Day love. You know, you come with the candy, you come with the flowers, if it's male to female, or you give the male something, you know, it's a special day. We go out to dinner, we celebrate the love that we have between each other. Okay, so 2 days later, what happens? We have an argument, and we're going at each other like cats and dogs. Sometimes it depends, you know, or I can't stand you today. Well, see, unconditional love takes that away. It's a deeper sense of love. And when I say deeper, I mean you're going inward into yourself. Everything that we talk about on this podcast is an inward movement, not an outward movement. Because when you're moving outward, you're basically dealing with illusion. When you're going inward, you're eliminating that illusion and getting down to what is real. And unconditional love is going deeper than that. And there are about 4 or 5 different phases of unconditional love. The one is that you'll find even on an explanation on the internet is that you accept whatever realities the person is creating. You accept that. The second part of that would be that whatever they create, it's okay with you, because that's for their celebration of life. That's for their definition of what they want to experience for their lessons. So that's 2 aspects of it. The third aspect gets even deeper. That's why I say it's a deeper celebration of love than just saying, I love you. And that is that you realize that you are the force itself. And then the fourth thing is that as you recognize that you are the force, you're seeing that the other person is also the force, or the other individual is also the force. So then the 5th part of that is going to be that oneness. The unconditional love is how you reach oneness. Until you can fully embrace unconditional love, you cannot embrace oneness. I don't care who you are.
So if you're saying I love you, you're really saying I love myself.
Absolutely. But you're putting conditions on it. See, when you say I love you, that's conditional. I love you when you are behaving yourself. I'm loving you when you're doing what I basically focus on.
You're acting the way I want you to.
Right. Then
when I was younger, and I might have mentioned this before, I used to face what I call the I love you but syndrome. And various people in my life would tell me they loved me, but, you know, they wish I were taller, or they wish I weighed less, or they wished something was different about me. I love you, but I wish you would change this. And I consider that now, looking back on it, that was just a reflection of myself looking at myself. because
And also a reflection of that person on themselves. Because remember, they can't define you in any way, shape, or form.
right, they can just support me, what I was creating.
And, but also, in addition to that, Carol, is that they are telling you who they are. Whatever they said about you has got to be in them first. Otherwise, you can't see it. There's a word in English called perception.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is your perception of that person? Well, your perceptions come from inside of you, looking outside and saying, this is what this person is doing. This is what I don't like about that person. What you don't like about that person is what you don't like about yourself.
Correct.
You see, everything starts from self, everything. And it starts from inward, and then you reflect it outward. So in psychology, they might say, I'm projecting. You're doing a projection. There's so many words to define it, but the bottom line is that as you see somebody else, so are you. So that's why we're always telling people, watch what you say about other people, because the only thing you're doing is telling them about yourself. So that eliminates criticism, and that eliminates judgment. If you understand that and stop relating to other people that way, then you're not judging anybody or criticizing anybody, because when you do that, you're really talking about yourself. So
And
that is the opposite of unconditional love.
unconditional love. So for a start for people, I guess would be stop judging yourself or being so self-critical.
Absolutely. There's no need for that, because what does it do? It makes you feel sad about yourself. It can carry you down into a state of depression. You know, if you did something that you question yourself on, why did I do this? That was a stupid thing for me to do. We say, stop criticizing yourself about it. Just go, oh, look what I did, and change it.
And what did I learn from it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's the unconditional love of self. That means that I don't put conditions on how I'm going to love myself. I'm going to love myself because I recognize and know that I'm a divine being. I recognize and know that I am the force. It's not a selfish statement to say I am the force. And to clarify, what is the force? The force is that which created what people call God or Allah or Yahweh. That is, the force created those entities, which are energy entities as well, you know. But
Well, the
we
force
are the
created all
force.
existence, correct?
Yes, it created everything. Things that you don't even see that exist, it created.
Right.
Because see, our focus is right here in this reality. It's like I say, we have blinders on so that we only see this. Now, there are some people that over a period of time, or even when they're children, they can start to see other realities, you know, but that's an ability. We all have the same abilities. Nobody is have more ability than somebody else. Why? Because we're all the force. So the force is the force. So we're all the same. We're all one because we are the force.
It's
So
just a matter of tuning into it more actively.
I would say that, first of all, to recognize it. You know, there are people that say that there is no supreme being. Well, that's okay too. The belief system is all right. You know, agnostic, atheist, it's all right to believe that. That means, because that's where you are at, you know, so we have to honor that that is what you're creating. That is the belief system that you're creating, and it's okay. So when we say it's okay, we've stepped into unconditional love. We're not going to say, oh, that's terrible. You don't believe in Jesus, or you don't believe in Allah, you know, or you don't believe in Buddha. No, no, it's not about that. It's about that wherever that person is, that's where they want to be. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. You see, I don't care how heinous the reality appears to be, but it's the fact that you've chosen it.
It's still judgment. And that's sometimes where people like myself tend to struggle, because it is hard to say, I unconditionally love Hitler, or I
Right.
unconditionally love Ted Bundy. I mean, we still keep that judgment in there. It's hard to remove it.
Right. It's like, and I've said this on the podcast before about my daughter. She came home one day when she was young. She might have been in high school, so she was about 14. And she told me, she says, Ma, she said, you tell me that I have to love everybody unconditionally, but do I have to like them? And I told her, I said, no, you don't have to like everybody. She said, oh, that's a good thing. She said, thanks, Ma. And off she went just as happy as she could be. Because what is the like? The like and dislike fits with personality. See, unconditional love takes you out of a person's personality. The person's personality is the illusions that they have chosen to support their lessons and to support the realities of others. So you don't have to like Hitler, we don't like his personality. At least I don't, you don't. But, there are some people
hard pressed to find someone who did.
But there are people that do that.
That's true.
There are people that are practicing his philosophy right in this world, right in this country of the United States today.
That is true.
They support that. That's their belief system. And which also produces separatism. And separatism takes you out of unconditional love. You can't even be in love with yourself when you're practicing being separate from other people. These people are heinous. These people are horrible, that they say. So let's get rid of them. That's how you create genocide. Okay, this group of people, we don't like them. We don't like how they behave. We don't like what they believe. So let's just kill them and get them off the planet. That's a belief system. Let's kill them and get them off the planet. That's what Hitler decided he was going to do with people who believed in Judaism, people who were not who chose to be physically misformed, their bodies, people who decided at the incarnation stage that they wanted to come in here and experience their brains malfunctioning so that they're not as smart as other people, quote unquote, as smart as other people. So that was his belief was and people who were minorities, let's just move them off the earth.
Yeah, no, his idea was he had a model or an archetype in mind, and he felt that that's what the whole human race should be.
Absolutely.
And ironically, he didn't even fit those qualifications.
I know, that's what's ironic, isn't it?
Well, in the end, he did kill himself, so we got to give him props for that.
Well, he chose that, he chose that, and people to eliminate himself, but from this reality, that he took himself from this reality. But the bottom line is that it's the acceptance of people to create whatever reality they want to create. It is okay. If Hitler chose, and anybody else who chose to transition using the process which we call suicide, that is okay. Because death is not real anyway. Death is an illusion. So you're not killing yourself. You're just moving deeper into yourself. That's where you're going. You're going deeper into yourself.
But that's not the most ideal way to transition, is it?
Everything is ideal. You know why it's ideal? It's ideal because you chose it.
Okay.
It fits where you want to be. See, if we say it's not ideal, then we've stepped into criticism.
Mm.
Then we've stepped out of unconditional love for that person. I know one person told me I cannot, years ago, about 30 years ago, he told me, he said, I can't live without my wife because she left him. The only thing I told him was, I'll support you whichever way you go. I'll give you the support. Whatever you choose, that is your choice. Who am I to tell you not to do something?
Didn't you once tell me, though, Greta, that when people do transition by way of suicide, that they don't just automatically ease into the next transitional portal, that they sort of get stuck?
No, not necessarily. It depends on how they looked at it. If they looked at it as being a trauma for themselves, and that's another issue. But other than that, they're just transitioning themselves. They're going right on in to the place where they have to reflect on what lessons they've learned, what lessons they haven't learned. They've got to choose again, what lessons do I want to learn in this? What emphasis am I going to put on certain lessons and not on others? They choose that. After that's done, then they go right on into creating their transitional portal, because they can create the transitional portal to where they start off as children. They can create a transitional portal that they start off as adults. It's up to them how they're going to learn it. And then they put all the people and everything together to create the transitional.
Support it, right.
And support the realities, the new realities that they're creating.
And I think it's important to emphasize to people that it is the unconscious level we're speaking of when we're talking about loving ourselves, because you could say it as much as you want consciously, but if your unconscious doesn't believe it, it doesn't seem to happen.
Right, because that's a good point, Carol, because the unconscious is the force as well. It's an aspect of the force, so that aspect of the force is looking at you deeper than what you're looking at yourself. So it's saying that, okay, I know you're speaking that to me, but that's not really what you mean. So let me support you in what you really mean. It's like I tell people all the time that when I facilitate for them, I tell them, I listen to what you say to me very carefully, but the big thing that I'm looking at is, what are you creating?
Mm-hmm.
What people are you creating around yourself, or as some people call attracting to yourself? What are you doing? What's happening with you? Are you a happy person? Do you dislike yourself? Really? Do you have diseases that are supporting certain lessons? And what are those mental equivalencies that you've created for yourself? You see, that is where that goes, for you to look at that.
See, now, many, many years ago, before I ever heard the expression creation of reality, I had heard about the unconscious controlling what's happening. And the way it was phrased to me was that the unconscious doesn't have emotion. So it takes things literally. And Greta, I know you've said this many times, be careful what you speak, be careful what you think. And the way it was explained to me is, when you say something derogatory about yourself, even if it's a joke, your unconscious doesn't recognize that it's a joke. So if you say like, oh, I'm so stupid, or I'm such a failure, and you are kidding about it, your unconscious just hears that that's what you want, and that's what it makes happen for you.
Right, it's going to support you in that, because you're creating, we create with the unconscious.
So how do we make those changes to get it to change to what we really want?
Well, you have to begin to say, I first of all, I want to learn to love myself. And I'm glad that you're asking this, because you're bringing in the concept of learning. and re-educating ourselves. See, so the first thing is going to be, I want to change how I feel about me. You know, how do I feel about me? Because, and to recognize that how we feel about ourselves, we were taught that. It just didn't come up that I don't like myself. Somebody taught me when I was a child that I'm not worthy to be loved by anybody, including myself. You know, there's statements that our parents have made or our relatives have made, cousins, that when we're growing up,
Grandparents.
yeah, yeah, you know, we're little peeps. We're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 18, 21. They're defining our character. So in some cases, people, because individuals have chosen parents, because we choose our parents,
Right.
have chosen parents that are going to give them a run for their money. Because you want to practice being strong. You know,
You have to recognize that in the first place. I mean, I know for years and years, it took me a long time to recognize where it began about me feeling unworthy of love. And I was able to pinpoint it. And that was quite a while ago. I still haven't overcome it completely. So
but
it's a constant work in progress.
it is, because doing that is a challenge.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because here we are, little peeps, and we're looking up at these tall individuals, and they're telling you you're no good. And we've been taught, you know, the culture teaches us to honor our parents. So if the parent is saying you're no good, you're stupid, you're never going to amount to anything, you're an addict, I can't stand you, you know, all that supporting lack of love of self. So we don't know that we don't need to feel that way.
And the unconscious is held on to it because it never forgets.
Absolutely. So it's going to assist us in creating experiences that support that until we decide we want to take a different perspective. We want to look at ourselves differently. So it's a re-examination of self. We don't have to hang on to what our parents taught us. We just don't. You know, things that are very abusive. There's some parents that have been totally abusive to their children, you know, but the children chose that energy source chose to experience that individual as a parent.
And
because
they also teach them fear. I remember a scientific experiment I read about a few years ago where they took a newborn gorilla and put it in a cage with a snake, and it was fine. And then they took the baby gorilla with its mother and put it in the cage with the snake, and the mother exhibited fear. And after that, the baby also exhibited fear. So it showed or proved that fear is actually taught to us.
Absolutely. In fact, all these things are taught to us. We're taught everything. That's why we came in here, because this reality experience is based on lessons. What lessons do I want to learn? Why are we learning these lessons in the first place? It's because we're the force. So we want to experience being the force, in that we've created these things. We want to be stimulated by this. We want to show that I'm better than not being better or being an awful person, that I can love myself, I can accept myself, you know, and I can change myself. You can always change yourself. Never feel that you are stuck in something.
I know we have to take our break soon, but I think I want to zero in on that word you said, acceptance. And I think that goes with unconditional when we're talking about love, because you have to accept everything whether you like it or not. Like your daughter didn't like something, but she could still love it. So acceptance is also a good word in there, I believe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Except, and the big one, because today's quote is dealing with self, it's accepting who you are. If you
Right.
don't like who you are, then change it. Change it. Do different things. Request the change. Request, help me to change. Those of you who practice pray and say, help me to change my life, to make my life better. But then when you say better, note what you mean by better now.
Right. You have to specify.
Yeah, you get into some specificity because you want to know what's better. Better for you is not necessarily what's better for me. So you want to define what that is.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Greta, we're going to take a short break, listeners. I hope you stick around. We're going to come back and we're going to hear from the realm of beings with their perspective on this quote. Thank you again. We'll see you in a few moments. Sticking with us, we are at that portion of the podcast where the realm of beings will weigh in on this quote that has been given to us. Realm, are you with us?
So we're here.
Okay, Realm, we've been talking about the quote where you have pretty much given the same information to us every week. So this way we're going a little deeper into it. It's loving me all the way. Unconditional love of self supports your creation of reality. What do you think?
One thing we'd like to say is this, and that is people pray. We want to give this as an example. People pray for peace. And one thing that we want to say is before you pray for peace, pray for unconditional love of self. Because when you have unconditional love of self, then you have unconditional love for others. Then their peace is automatic. Mm-hmm. So the concentration is to love self, to recognize that you are a divine being. That is very important because being a divine being and living as a divine being, not just speaking the words, but living it, then you are sending out the energy throughout all of existence of unconditional love. And that's what this is about for this universe that you are in at this time.
Realm, can you just expound a little bit when we talk about we are divine beings? Because people, I think, have been accustomed to the word divine and divinity having to do with an external God or gods. And I know that's not what you mean. How can we get that across to people about we are divine?
Well, it's bit by bit. People have to, it's not necessarily slowly understand it. But once you hear and keep hearing the fact that you are the force, through that knowledge, then you recognize that you are divine. But it's to understand that you are the force. When you understand that you are the force, that is also part of unconditional love. And unconditional love leads you to an understanding of oneness. You cannot, and Greta has said that on the podcast several times, you cannot reach oneness until you learn unconditional love. And then you learn that unconditional love supports the realities that you create. So the realities that you're going to create are one of love, peace, patience, compassion. It does not support blame, lack, hate, aggression. It does not support war, genocide, doesn't support those things. So if the utopia would be if everybody loved themselves, there would only be a utopic experience of peace, of love. So that's where we want to go, unconditional love, not only for this planet called Earth, not only for this reality, but those that are beyond your sight are also practicing unconditional love. It has been asked to support that. That is why we support that here. That is why we discuss it with you today. It is very important to love self. It's not demeaning. It's not selfish. Those people who would say, well, you're being selfish, what are they doing, Carol?
They don't love themselves and they're considering keeping things separate.
Absolutely. And when they call you selfish because you love yourself, who else are they calling?
Themselves. They consider themselves selfish.
There you go.
And I think we want to maybe emphasize that all we have control over is ourselves. You can't pray for some. I know people all the time say, oh, pray for me because I'm going through a difficult time. Those are people that are not understanding unconditional love of self. They're not understanding creation of reality. You cannot change another person. You can only change yourself.
Absolutely. So the prayers, it's energy, but you can, all that energy can only support where that person is.
Mm-hmm.
If that person, like you said, I'm going through a difficult time, so what have they created? They have created a difficult time. Earlier, we heard you earlier, Carol, when you were talking about we have to watch what we say, and that's absolutely correct. Because even in our simple sentences, we create things. Like, for instance, some people will say, you see them sniveling from their nose or whatever, and they say, oh, are you okay? No, I have a cold. So what does that mean? They have it.
They experience having the cold. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're going to keep on experiencing it until they get tired of having it. When they get tired of having it, that's when you supposedly go through a healing and the cold is gone. But that's because you got tired of it. You got tired of creating it. You created the cold in the first place. So as you created it, you're the one that has to get rid of it. Nobody else can get rid of it for you. It's like some places where they have people that lay hands on people. And then the people, they say, get up and walk. So the person who laid his or her hands on the person, they believe that they cured the person. They didn't cure anything. What they did was they gave energy, the person accepted the energy, and the person cured themselves. The person themselves got up and decided to walk. Not that somebody said, boom, now walk. No, it doesn't work like that. None of this
You
works
mentioned that. I saw a show yesterday relating to history, and there was this doctor who invented a quote unquote machine that whatever energy people had in form of illness, this machine was supposed to negate it. And he wouldn't sell them. He would rent them to doctors. And he would tell them they're not allowed to open the box. And years later, because other scientists were like, we need to know what's going on, they opened the box. All that was inside were a bunch of tangled wires, nothing connected to anything. It was nothing. It wasn't healing anyone. And the people that thought they were healed either healed themselves or really didn't have the illness they thought they had in the first place. So power of suggestion is important too.
Well, both of those things are correct because, see, illness is an illusion. So technically you don't have it. Because see, if you recognize that you're the force, can we say the force is going to have a cold?
No.
Can we say the force is going to have cancer? No, it's just an illusionary experience. That's why when you recognize yourself as the force and you see yourself as divine, then you can start saying, I don't need this cancer. I don't need this headache. I don't need to be experiencing Parkinson's disease, or I don't need to be experiencing ALS. I don't need it. It's not real. So let me cure myself. So what you're going to do is you're going to do step by step to get rid of it. Because remember, in this human experience, you have 5 senses that support you believing in the illusion. You have smell. If you can smell it, then you know it. It's there. If you can touch it, you know it's there. If you can, what are the others? Hear it, make noise, then you know it's there. There are 5 senses. Taste, you can taste it. And what's the other one, Carol?
If you can see it.
Oh, if you can see it. Yeah, yeah. So those senses support you in believing the illusion because you believe it's there. When you have pain, you say to yourself, I'm in pain. I have pain. Notice how you've claimed it. I have pain. So you're claiming that. So you don't want to claim that. What you want to claim is what you want. And that is, I am in perfect health. I am experiencing perfect health. Because the word experiencing carries you further than I am. I am is a stagnant statement. It is right there at the moment that you say it. It does not extend itself anywhere outside of that moment. But when you say the word experiencing, I am experiencing joy, that means it's going on and on and on. So you want it going on and on and on. You don't want it just for one moment. So
that's
you say,
more of a dynamic statement.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
I said that's more of a dynamic statement.
Absolutely. It carries it. It reverberates into all parts of your beingness. If you say, I am experiencing joy, it's not just going to stay at the moment that you say it. It's going to be going out. It's going to even be reaching to other people that want to accept that energy. Notice we said who want to accept that energy.
Right.
Some people don't like themselves to the extent that they love being in misery. They love being sick, you see. That supports them in something that they've chosen, you know.
I think it's easier to go with the familiar feeling, even if it's not the best choice feeling. A lot of people want.
What I want to say to you, Carol, about best feeling, everything is the best feeling because it's something you've created. You've created to feel downtrodden. You've created to give yourself depression. And some people, once they create to give themselves that depression, they go deeper and deeper and deeper into depression because they're familiar with that suits their personalities. Notice I said personality, because that's what you're dealing with these illusions. You're dealing with personalities. You're not dealing with your true being, which is divine, unless you're dealing with those things that are high vibrational, like joy, like approval of self, like worthiness of self. Feel yourself worthy. You are worthy of joy, worthy of peace, worthy of unconditional love of self. You are worthy. So that is extremely important to believe in that. We stress that with you. Love yourselves. Believe in yourselves. So are you back with us now, Carol?
Yes, sorry about that. I do have this weird internet thing going on.
So let's correct that. Let's create a reality where we don't experience that, Carol.
Okay, Realm, you are correct. I create to have perfectly working internet.
Absolutely. So we're not going to talk about that. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing according to what we want it to do. But it's
Exactly.
doing something, Carol. It's doing something. So take a look at that.
I definitely will. There's something inside me that's creating this. I have to figure out what it is. I
Yes.
think I know, but I'll just discuss that with Greta later. In the creation of reality part of this quote, I mentioned a little bit, and you said you heard where we were talking about the unconscious and the wording we use and how the unconscious will manifest what you say or what you think. I don't think people who are not privy to creation of reality, they may not see that we are constantly reminded about creation of reality, even when those words aren't used. I don't know if it's because I've become more familiar with it, or if it's just that I'm looking for it more, but I have literally found concepts of
Well, there she goes again. That was a very important statement that she's going to make. When she comes back, we'll ask her to redo that again. Are you with us, Carol? Can we hear you?
I'm back.
Okay, tell us again what you're saying.
I was saying how I am much more aware of teachings of creation of reality without those words being used. And if we just open our eyes, we see it. I came across something that I had read years ago, and it was a quote from Carl Jung, where he says, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Much of what drives our thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and life choices exists beneath our conscious awareness. When we attribute the outcomes and circumstances of our lives to external forces or destiny, we absolve ourselves of personal responsibility." So this was many years ago when he said that statement. He's talking about creation of reality and taking control of our own reality because it's internal, not external.
Well, see, the interesting thing about that, Carol, based on the last statement you had, we always have control over it. It's what do we want to produce out of the control. See, we always have control over what we are doing. We are never not in control of that. Now, English is that I used incorrect English, but I'm using it anyway.
No, two negatives make a positive. That's perfect. Makes perfect sense.
But see, the thing is that you're doing it all the time. No one here in this reality stops creating reality itself. No one. You're always creating reality. And one person somewhere along the line stated that, Greta read it somewhere, that reality is not real either, which is true. Because the realities that you create, that you are seeing, are really imaginary. That's what illusions are, imaginary. You've stepped into what Greta calls the fun house. You're having fun with yourself. It may be a terrible life to you, but you're getting something out of it. Otherwise, you would change it. So it's best for you. Everything is a best for you because you have chosen it. We just think that it's not, but it's doing something for you. Everything that you experience does something for you. It assists, one of the things that assists you in learning your lessons inside this reality. Some of what you create, you go, oh God, why did I create that? You know, and that's okay, but it's best, you see, because the best is a judgment call, Carol. What is best for you? What is best for me? What is best for Greta? You know, it all depends. What's best? Is it best for you to practice an addiction? If you're practicing it, then that's best for you at that time, because you've decided that you want to experience what it's like to have an addictive situation going on in your life, be whatever it is, you know. So what is best? Best is best at all times because you've created it.
I think the message too needs for people to understand that they're in control, because I don't think a lot of people know that.
That's a good statement. Yes, you're in control. You're in control of yourself at all times because you're creating your reality at all times. When you are walking down the street, you put your right foot in front of your left. That's a reality. When you put your left foot in front, that's another reality. You are doing realities at every moment. For us right now, every word that is coming out of our mouths is a reality. We are creating that. We are creating what to say to you, Carol, and to the audience. So those are our realities. Each word is a reality. And we are experiencing what it is like to be on this podcast. So that is part of our creation of reality. We want to speak to the people.
And we are very grateful, Ralph, to have you on this podcast too. And very happy that you share these quotes with us through Greta. We're going to have a couple of seconds left. I want to just remind people that Greta will be in Mount Laurel, New Jersey at the Westin Hotel on Sunday, October 1st. She's doing a free workshop at 3:45 p.m. You can go online to register.
Let us finish. You can go online to register. It is the Holistic Health and Healing Expo. Holistic Health
That's
and
October
Healing
1st.
Expo. And you can register from that point. Register for the expo and then register to hear Greta and us speak on October 1st, which is a Sunday.
Yes.
We would love to see those of you who are in New Jersey or in surrounding areas to come out and see us and greet us so we can greet you and see some of you in person. We're loving it. We're loving it. Thank you, Carol.
Oh, no problem, Ralph. I'm excited for it myself. Want to remind everyone also that you can also follow the webpage of therealmofbeings.com. You can follow on Instagram under Shifting Impressions and under Facebook Shifting Impressions, and catch up on any Shifting Impressions podcast on YouTube. So we're going to bid adieu. We ask everyone to have a great weekend, and we will see you when we create each other again.
Once Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with the realm and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.